Hi, everybody.
Hi guys, how we doing?
Can you believe we're back?
I know. I had a couple of people when we had taken that week off message me and like, "Do you have a show tonight?" I'm like, "I sure hope I don't," because I was out dashing. I'm like, I want. Can I do it from the car? Do we have a show? No, we don't have a show. Yeah, it was a whole thing.
No,
So
everybody that holds the keys to the castle as far as StreamYard was all at the same dinner that night in Rhode Island. So we were like,
yeah,
let's just take a week off.
yeah,
I'm
no,
going
it
through
was
all these.
totally fine. It was totally fine.
It was
So.
Cody and Satori took the week off last week too because they were on the road.
Oh, really? Oh, thank you, Tom. Yes, guys, I cut my hair.
I know she's the best curly hair
Yes,
ever.
I do. It's very, very curly. Which is weird because I'm half Cherokee Indian. So I didn't get the straight hair from my father, just the ability to tan immediately. So
this is the
thanks,
palest
guys.
I've been in 15 years because I don't live by the beach anymore.
Oh, you don't? And did I see where you guys might be getting some snow? You've got like a late nor'easter coming.
Yeah, there's a nor'easter. We're like right on the cusp of potentially getting snow.
Cool.
Jen's big mad. She's blaming it on Corey and I because Corey and I are like, yay, snow, cold weather, yay. And Jen's like, I hate both.
It's literally the week before Memorial Day weekend. I saw that and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, so this is going to be like, we had some rain today, but it's starting to pick up now. So it'll be interesting to deal with a nor'easter in New England as opposed to Florida. Here we are. Now I'm getting down to the comments. There's a lot in here, so y'all bear with me.
I know. You guys were commenting for a while. We miss Ohio too. I really wish we could have gone. I'm hoping to be able to go. Thank you, Mary Beth. Next year, but their vendors fill up super quick, and they give first dibs on the vendors that were there at the last event. So
yeah,
hopefully they will have a spot because I really want to go next year. It's such a good time, and I kind of miss my friend my sad little friend in the solitary. Yeah.
This is I mean, it's not like I've been a bunch. I went the last 2 years, but I didn't go this year to OSR. But Steve, our buddy Steve that worked with us at the farm, got to go. He'd never been.
Oh, really? I love when people have never been somewhere fun.
Yeah. He had a great time. So he video called on Saturday and so got to say hey to some people. And
oh, that's good.
Apparently it went well and they had a great time. And, OSR always does a hell of a job putting that event on with the volunteers, the coordination, how it's laid out, the way they take care of their guests and their vendors.
Really hard. Laura and I were so impressed because we were vendors for History of a Haunting when we had all gone there.
Yeah.
And like every time we turned around, there was somebody in a bright green shirt coming around asking if we wanted coffee or water and
I know
and are you okay? And it was truly amazing. Tracy really is really top draw. Yeah, it was a really great event. So
I was bummed.
The more I do, the more I see the ones where the vendors are really taken care of, and Gettysburg is one of them. OSR is another. So
when I remember Kathy Faketic and her husband Greg, who were the organizers of that event, had explained. I think it was the first year. I think it was the first time when you and I were there together. And hello, Bean.
Yeah. Yep.
If you can see the progress bar, it's already loading for the squeaking or the barking, so you know it's coming.
Hello, puppy.
She was saying, so many events tend to really only focus on the talent, which is great. That she wasn't knocking.
It's true. Yeah, no, I mean that's why people go. That's how they get. Go. Yes, exactly.
But she said, we recognize that the vendors are just as important because they're the ones who fill up your spaces and the vendor spaces, and they're the ones who kind of bring the vibe and the energy and the things that they've put so much love and time and care into creating. Or so I think OSR really understands that end of it, and I think they do a really, really great job.
They do. They really do, man. And they, when you do a private investigation, they really take care of the team and everybody there as well. Because we had done a private investigation last August, and Greg was there. He had just had back surgery, and he was there and still taking people on a tour that wanted to go, and like it's really top notch. It's really,
is.
It's really top notch. And so I'm hoping to go next year. And then Gettysburg is always a really good time too. So I'm still going to be up your ass.
I know. I need to figure that out. I've got like 6 people. Are you coming to Gettysburg? I'm like, I need to figure out my life first. I haven't gotten that far yet.
You have till July. It's totally fine.
Right. But it's almost June already. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh shit. Right.
What is happening? You know what I mean? I need to like hurry it up, but I got to find a job, and it's like a whole thing. But it is, Paracon season is truly upon us at this point, and so
yeah, full swing.
Dan wants to know, are we going to be? She is definitely going to be there. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm going to be there, but
I will be there for this little light of mine. So
Michelle will be there.
Michelle will be there.
You know Michelle.
Zappis. I get to meet Brittany for the first time.
Yeah.
Cody and Satori, of course. Zach and his team are going to be there. Laura is coming. Like I'm trying to get Jennifer to go. Like it's
like a family reunion.
It's going to be so fun. My mom is coming.
Nice.
Primarily to see Anthony because she loves Anthony Simonelli, Mr. Forget About It. So it's going to be such a good time. And it's kind of like, it was a good source of business for this little light of mine skincare last year.
Yeah.
And we're a little bit more established now. We have some more offerings. So it's going to be another good weekend for us as far as sales go. But I'm like, but all my friends are here and I want to go see them. And, Ron and Lourdes, I never miss seeing like Ron and Lourdes and the Digital Seance Initiative or, I love that. But now I'm like, oh, I got to work. Laura's like, all right, I'll let you know how fun it is with everybody else. I'm like, okay, you did that.
Yeah, right. Bitch. We just need to win the lottery. And then we can just paranormal forever, all the time, forever. Like that's
forever, right? Like Coy's like, I want to win the lottery. I want to get like the top of the line RV that's like $1 million. We'll just go all over the country. And I'm like, okay, but we got to stop at haunted places with all my friends. Right. Like, all right, I don't have to go there. I'm like, okay, well.
Yeah. I mean,
he's got to figure it out. It's okay.
It's totally fine.
Totally fine.
That's what I love about going to either events or like when we went to SK Pier. So we did a lot more eating and laughing than we actually did investigating. But I think that's kind of what I love about them is because I hate small talk. We've had this discussion before. Like I hate small talk. And what I love about those things is you get to skip that. Like, because you're all there for the same reason. Mm-hmm. And so you get to skip the bullshit. You go straight into the stuff you're all passionate about. And then, like OSR at the event. I mean, we've come out with some great friends as a result of that. Like they're not just people we see when we go to OSR.
That's very true. Yeah, that's very true. I love that kind of, a lot of people do these things to network, but Laura and I we didn't go there for that.
Yeah.
Same with Gettysburg. We just happened to make really amazing friends while we were there. So
100% agree.
Totally different.
I think that's what I love about this field probably more than anything. There's a lot of bad about this field, especially going on.
Good Lord.
But
let me tell you what, though, there's some like the hot goss is so cool.
I'm just
I'm impressed with it. Sandy and George are talking about remote viewing. And because I was saying, she said, Carrie's going to take me to Disneyland. And he's like, just remote view there. And we're gonna work on that. I was like, well, instead of pictures,
even better, George. No travel time.
Do like the actual like, we can remote view in a photograph. In the past, let's try to actually remote view Disneyland.
I think that'd be amazing.
Why not? It's haunted.
I think that would be amazing. I know, right?
Yeah. So we're gonna try it. We'll see how it goes.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right, guys. Sandy, I was really impressed. She did a good job. She's been practicing with me, and she did a really good job. Oh, thanks, Dan.
Love that.
Yeah. It was fun. It was a really good time. I wish I could have been there for the following Monday.
cheaper food on remote view.
1,000%.
Less calories too.
Less calories too. Well, except for the wine. Cheers. Clink.
Coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really cool time. I wish I could have been there the following Monday. Sandy was telling me about it and how like the woman that used to live there had been on the town hall. And nice. A lot of us kind of hit the nail on the head apparently. So I'm sorry I missed that one. I wanted to see that. So yeah.
Those are fun.
They're a good time. Everybody's really cool. I love them.
Well, and it's nice because they're not formal. You know, it's like, unless there's a particular subject that it's not real structured, you can kind of just, I really do love that. So if you haven't joined Dead Air Full Spectrum Patreon, it's like $3 a month. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
Of course, if I had half a brain, I'd have the link up in the description, but maybe it's in here in the bowels of the things I never play with. That's in Ken's stuff. But so I think, here we go. George said, our guest rated the group 10 out of 10 on accuracy.
Whoa, seriously? Wow.
Really cool.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Well, it's a nice way for people to get to know each other because, so oftentimes we're like on a show or we're, at an event and there's,
there's a lot going on. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
There is. So it gives you a chance to like tap in and, talk to the people that you see in chat all the time and kind of get to know each other a little bit more on a personal level, which I think is important.
I think so too. I've made so many good friends through this, things like this. So yeah, I love it. So guys, we're going to shift gears and go from the yay, happy Disneyland to Shadow work. We've talked a lot about this, but only in little like snippets, really. So we thought that this week would be a good week to get into the nuts and bolts of what shadow work is and how you can benefit from it, the good parts, the bad parts, and I'm gonna let Erin kind of lead this one just because right now she's currently doing shadow work, and I've kind of put mine on the back burner. So
you need to you listen. Shadow work when it comes up, you're like, here we go again.
It's difficult. It's not meant to be easy.
And I think what's important to navigate or to discuss like right off the jump, this is a lot of what Carrie and I tried to discuss about trying to be authentic and honest about what this experience of traveling and walking this path kind of looks like. Obviously, we've discussed in the past about how, you get on the internet and you see all these people and they're perfectly coiffed and they're meditating and they're, and that's great. That's great. However, most of those people are not doing what we call the work. And it's a stupid phrase, but it's work because it's not fun most of the time.
Yes, exactly.
It takes a lot of introspection and swallowing hard truths about yourself. But without it, you don't get all the benefits of walking this path because, as we know, there's a balance to everything. So light, dark, happy, sad, like everything has a counterbalance. And I don't think you can truly walk this kind of spiritual way, no matter what end of it you're on. If you're a healer or you're a psychic or you're a, pick whatever path you walk on the spiritual side of things.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Fully without doing the hard stuff, because the hard stuff is where the growth is, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I know. So I was trying to, when we decided to have this, have this as our topic, I was like, all right, I'm going to do a bunch of research. And then I started kind of realizing that I could either regurgitate a bunch of scientific information at you, because again, this isn't just, as Carrie hit on before we came on the show, this isn't just metaphysical and spiritual.
Yeah.
Shadow work is very much rooted in psychology.
Yes.
And the man that makes made more noise about that than anybody else is Carl Jung, which I know for a lot of people, he can be controversial, but He's who I resonate the most with when he's talking about shadow work. He was a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
But what I did want to give is his definition. And I did take notes, so I'm not completely unprepared. This was off a website. It's pacificalibguides.com, and it's specific about Carl Jung and his position on shadow. So let me just read this. In 1945, Jung gave a most direct and clear-cut definition of the shadow, the thing a person has no wish to be. In this simple statement is subsumed the many-sided and repeated references to shadow as the negative side of the personality, the sum of all the unpleasant qualities one wants to hide, the inferior, worthless, primitive side of man's nature, the, quote, other person in one's own dark side. Jung was well aware of the reality of evil in human life, but over and over again, he emphasizes that we all have a shadow, that everything substantial casts a shadow, that the ego stands to shadow as light to shade, that it is the shadow which makes us human.
Yeah.
Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. If an inferiority is conscious, one always has a chance to correct it. Furthermore, it is constantly in contact with our other interests, so that it is continually subjected to modifications. But if it is repressed and isolated from consciousness, it never gets corrected and is liable to burst forth suddenly in a moment of unawareness. Been there. At all counts,
far too often.
Right, more than one. At all counts, it forms an unconscious snag thwarting our most well-meant intentions. But you can see why I didn't want to go do a whole bunch of research, because it's a lot.
Yeah, I was
a lot of that
looking into it as well, and I'm like, but she says this to us, guys, because it, like, again, it's not just a metaphysical thing. It does have. And Mary Beth, you had asked the question, isn't it like spiritual homework? Kind of, but also kind of not.
Right.
It's
funny because, like, where do you start with this? This is like such a big topic, but here's the way I had no clue what shadow work was when I first started getting into the spiritual side of stuff in 2019. No clue, never heard of it. I had done countless hours of talk therapy. I had done all that stuff, and but I was still a complete and total disaster. Now I'm still a complete and total disaster, but we are a complete and total disaster with much healthier coping skills and a much better awareness of what our shadow side is. And I think, a lot of times people hear the word shadow and it's like, oh, it's bad. And even that definition that Jung gives is it's this
the dark side of you,
sides of ourselves. But the way I've always kind of looked at it when I first started kind of delving into this, a lot of the things that I was having issues with I had learned in talk therapy were assigned to one thing. Now, I'm not knocking talk therapy. I'm not knocking talk therapy of any kind of therapy.
Right. Any kind of like mental health. Yeah.
Great.
That you're getting.
It's just a bit of a different spin. And if you're an energetic sensitive, like a lot of us are, when you get with someone who's got a spiritual arm of it, what I started learning when I started doing shadow work is that I really had to sit down and open up a lot of boxes. Now, some of you will resonate with this conversation. I know my mom and I always talk about this. If she's still in here, she'll say yes or no. But we always used to joke about, we'll just shove that box in the closet of the things that you don't talk about.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, my closet at that point was bursting with boxes. Yes. I made myself very, very sick. 2 surgeries. And it was a whole, Mom, she's like, I'm here. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with comments and then like do this at the same time.
We need to just give me admin, right?
I know, right? But I think what happens is you decide to impart on this journey. And most of us don't impart on this journey because things are necessarily great for us. Like, you get to a point where you're desperately searching for something different.
Yeah.
All the shit that you've tried doesn't work. You're still unhappy. You can't figure out why. But where you hit the cornerstone is you're on this happy path of meditation and, oh God, lighting incense and yay, crystals. Then you meet this intersection where your shadow, and this was my funny meme for the end of the show, but since we're having this conversation, I'm just going to show it now. This is what happens. Okay. So
I love it so much.
I know, me too, right? Because it's Darth Vader.
It's because it's Darth Vader.
You can start, going down the spiritual metaphysical path, buy all the candles, buy all the crystals you want, do all the meditating you want. But at some point, you're going to be put in a situation where you realize, oh shit, there's a lot of stuff I don't understand. Why do I react this way? Why does somebody set me off this way? Why am I triggered? Why am I so angry? Why do I feel like my world is falling apart all the time? Why am I so negative, miserable, angry?
Yep.
Your shadow is screaming to come out now.
Yeah. The
shadow, the way I've always looked at it, a little easier than Young's like smart PhD, all the letters behind his name brain is.
Right.
Shadow work forces you to pull out all the shitty coping skills, things you hate about yourself, bad behavior, terrible reactions, addictions, relationships falling apart. And it forces you to actually hold them in your hands and look at them for a while.
Yeah.
Right?
Acknowledge them and admit they're there.
Because your shadow is not something to be ashamed of or to get rid of. Your shadow is the thing that allowed you to survive.
Yes. Real quick, Mary Beth said I had to discover a lot of that when I was younger. And shadow work doesn't ever end.
No.
It doesn't ever end because you're not the same person that you are when you were younger, right? So you've had other experiences and things like that throughout your adult life that, shadow is bearing the brunt of, I guess, if that makes sense. So shadow work is something that ideally somebody does throughout the whole of their life.
Right. Or at least once you figure out, in my case at 40.
Same.
That is.
It's definitely not a one and done situation.
No. I did a massive amount of shadow work between 2019 and 2021, I guess.
Yeah.
A lot of that was dealing with so most people know, but for those of you who don't, I've been married twice. My first marriage was incredibly abusive. I almost didn't survive it. But some of the fallout from that, 16 years put my life back together from that first marriage. Obviously, some of the trauma and pain from that trickled over into marriage number 2.
Sure. Yeah.
So if you ever hear me say anything negative about ex-husbands, it's never Justin. It's never my second ex. But the amount
of a hot one.
Yeah, he's I can't wait to tell him you said that. He's going to get hilarious and then he's going to turn red. But I think that first marriage, it was 4.5 years. I was physically abused, but the emotional damage was the worst.
Yeah.
And I took all that on, right? Like that was my fault. It was, I was damaged. And I think a lot of times we start using the things that happen to us as a crutch. It's a reason not to do this or not to do that, or it's an excuse.
That is super true. Wow.
An excuse for that. It's like, nope, I'm damaged. I can't do that. Nope, I'm sorry. This happened to me. I can't. Or I reacted this because this thing happened to me. Now, what happens to you in your life is not your fault, but choosing how you decide to heal or handle it absolutely is no one else's responsibility but your own. Right?
Yeah.
So for example, and I'm not going to bore everybody with the details of the shadow work of go around number 1, but one of the biggest things I got out of that from that abusive marriage when I started unpacking this was that I let him treat me that way. I was an adult. Different when you're dealing with children. That does not apply with children.
Of course, right.
I, as an adult, allowed this man to literally break my soul. I was in the hospital with anxiety attacks. I couldn't look myself in the mirror. I couldn't have a conversation. I couldn't make a simple decision. I mean, he literally destroyed me. And the squeaking begins right on cue. But I had to admit that I allowed him to treat me that way.
Yeah.
And it's not oh, Erin, you shouldn't have, it was a realization that I had to own my part in that situation. Once I started figuring that out, it was like, oh shit, well, how much more of this is there behind that? Because that one was the immediate need that had to be addressed.
Right. Yeah.
I thought the drinking was because of that marriage. No. The drinking was The drinking was my inability to be socially normal in situations. I know now it was how, like, if you go to a bar, energetically, everything is amped. Everybody's either madder or everything is oomphed.
Right. Oomphed. I love it. Everything is oomphed. That's the new phrase for that. Well, that was weird.
Right. And I think for me, drinking was a way to feel like I could blend in more with people in social settings, but it also was an intimacy thing for me. I always have people out here, even still. Even my closest people only get so far in.
Yeah.
That's something I will be addressing at Shadow at some point when it's time.
Yeah.
But because of that first marriage, I don't let anybody in closer than to a certain point. So therefore, people can only get as close to me as I allow it.
Yeah. And I've sent her memes about that, actually. Like, I'm fine with it. Erin and I she's one of my best friends. Erin and I know a lot of stuff about each other that, like, best friends know. But I know when she's gone quiet,
she's working on some shit.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with me.
Mm-mm.
But I'll send her memes about it. Like, it's hard to have an introvert friend. Like, what are they doing? Are they planning on robbing a bank? Are they getting ready to flee the country? Or are they just sobbing on the side of their bed? What's going on? I don't know. I guess I'll just wait until they call. Like, that kind of stuff. And that's what it's like with Erin.
With me,
but
yeah,
it does take somebody that isn't gonna demand more of you than you're able to give.
Yeah.
And I think that you have surrounded yourself with those people.
I certainly have.
Which is wonderful. Yeah.
I'm very lucky in that. I think but again, that's another part of, trauma and shadow work. And again, like Carrie said, shadow work is not a one and done deal. You will come up with instances of shadow work whenever it's necessary. Like, I knew it was coming for me once after last year. And I've been in the thick of it now for about 2-3 months.
Yeah.
And the question, so here's where I'm at. So I want to give you like a good example of what this looked like for me. This go around, right? So, I had this conversation with you. I've had it with, my closest friends, where I was having a hard time deciding, because of all the upheaval in my life in the last 18 months, was I just disassociated and I'm just not dealing with it? Or was I really okay? Because I've done all this shadow work in the past. I've got coping skills. I don't drink anymore. I do know I tend to go within, because that's when you feel the hardest time of your life alone by choice. Yeah. Plenty of support back then. I just didn't,
sure.
And guilt and all, that's a whole nother show. But I had to sit with that for a while.
That's a good question. Like that.
I really didn't know, because, let's be honest, since I got in this field, I've been on this crazy ass train of all this amazingly cool stuff. I knew at some point we were going to get hard again. Like, it was going to be hard at some point.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, okay, we are going to make I'm making a conscious effort to stop beating the shit out of myself for not having a job right now, for feeling unproductive, for feeling lazy, for feeling tired, for not wanting to talk to people, for needing to just be in full-blown solitude.
Yeah.
Which I know has been harder for some people than others. But like you said, everybody around me, including my family, understands that that's how I get sometimes, because then they know that I'm doing some stuff on myself.
Yeah. As long as we know you're alive, like, it's cool.
I know.
As long as you put back, is all right.
I do need to be better about that. But I think I was sitting on the couch, I was like, okay, I am done beating myself up. I'm not just trying to recoup the last year and a half. I'm probably trying to recoup the past, let's call it 26 years. Because, first marriage, crazy jobs. I've never just stood still. I've also never been single, really, in my adult life. Right? And I was like, okay, we are going to make an effort. This is kind of where it started. We're done beating ourselves up about not having a job. We're trusting the universe. This is all going to be fine.
Yeah.
And I just started listening to the innards of what's going on, because I can't make this go any faster than it's going to go. And I was sitting on the couch last week, and it hit me like a freight train. The download came in. This is not the hardest thing you have survived. because it's not even close. Right. So that was that answer. Cause I kept saying like, I feel like I'm stuck. I can't until I make this decision, I can't go any further. Oh, sorry. Do I need to catch up on comments? Let me go back through some of these.
A lot of people are really relating to what you're saying, which is great. And that's kind of what we wanted in deciding to talk about this.
Yeah.
Is so that like Erin and Marie and Lori and Mary Beth, we all could see, as we always do every week that we're on, when Cody and Satori aren't stealing the spotlight. I'm just kidding, I love you guys. That everybody goes through this.
They do.
Everybody goes through this, but the difference is not everybody is
intentional about it.
Yes. Not everybody's intentional about it. Not everybody's doing it. You might think that you're doing it, but you're really not, because quite honestly, it's very difficult to look at the bad parts about yourself, about your character, about the way you behave. It's hard for people to do that. And I was talking to my mom about the show tonight and the topic, and I'm like, nobody likes to like be like, oh well, you're bossy, and nobody wants to hear the bad stuff about themselves, certainly not from themselves. And she was like, I don't have I'm like, nobody wants to look at their faults. She goes, I don't have any faults. And I was like, case in point,
wrong answer.
Everybody loves a stubborn person, Mom. So but it is difficult. We all innately know what we could work on, what our faults are, what are things that are damaging either our work relationship with people or our friend relationship with people, family, romantic partners. There isn't any single thing about any single person that is perfect.
No. And
we're not supposed to be. We're not supposed to be. We're here to learn.
we're human. And I think, I know, like, one of the ones I constantly, and I still struggle with this one, and I'm just trying to like throw examples out because these are also things that are still kind of lingering around, because again, this is a big thing to note. We hit this on anytime we really talk about healing stuff. Healing's not linear.
No.
So if you think you've handled something, you're like, yep, got it, nailed. The universe is going to bring that back around one more time, or as many times as necessary, just to make sure you actually got it, right? So
as much as I love it, the universe is a huge dick.
Sometimes the universe has jokes, right? I know one of the big ones for me is when growing up, my family, at school, my friend, oh, you're so outgoing. You're so personable. You're so like, I made myself that way. I think after hearing that enough as a kid, you're the easiest child. You're the oldest child. Like I made myself those things because that's what was expected of me. And so, and starting to do the shadow work, you're peeling back these layers and you're like, oh, well, this is why I react this way. Or this is why I react this way. You start kind of putting all these little puzzle pieces together. And what I learned is I'm not an extrovert. I'm like, what do they call them? An extroverted introvert or an introverted extrovert?
We should do that personality test, everybody. That would be like, we should do it. And like, okay.
And see what everybody's results are.
Yeah, see, squirrel.
We have the same brain. That's why we do this so well together.
That's why this works.
But I think at that point, once I started figuring this out, it was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm tired. So a lot of it is, it's hard, but and it's not always just bad stuff. For me, a lot of the root of getting to some of this stuff is finding the root cause of it. Like, what made you that way? Why are you afraid of vulnerability? Why are you afraid of, insert issue here? But instead of slapping on whatever you thought it was for the entirety of time, you really start to hold it in your hands. What does it feel like? You're looking at it. You're like, your body's going to start to tell you what's actually happening, whether it's a download or a body, but whatever it is for you.
Sure.
Your soul starts to tell you what this is. And the soul's basically like, here it is. You can either keep shoving it in this box, in this closet that you've had forever, where everything's miserable and hateful and life sucks, or start pull the boxes out one by one.
Yeah.
open them and deal with them. And I mean, I look at this, like this go around, a lot of this is still tied into, I'm not as much of a people pleaser as I used to be. I'm always going to struggle with that to some degree, but this for me has been more about the importance of setting boundaries. Because as I've learned to set some boundaries, they weren't firm enough. And
that's
not a fun one. A lot of us have a hard time.
That's a big one, I think, for a lot of people.
But also looking at these things, the issues with, like I'm aware of the bulk of the issues that I struggle with.
Sure.
I'm aware that some of the trauma and some of the issues and the triggers are things I'm not ready to deal with yet. And that's okay.
That's okay. Yeah.
The soul will decide when it's time. I mean, I can remember being in the kitchen at my condo in Florida about a year after I started this stuff. And I got hit out of nowhere with a memory of being choked. My first ex-husband, about passed me out, like choked me so hard I almost passed out. Hadn't thought about it. My brain had shut that memory completely out of my brain.
Wow.
Since 2000.
Whoa.
And here we are now. It was like 2020 and it literally brought me to my knees. Because the more you're doing shadow work, I think, and this is in my case, the more your brain is like, okay, she's starting to kind of accumulate these skills. She's starting to understand the importance of looking at these sides of herself that she's been hiding for so long.
Yes.
In order to continue to heal.
Yeah.
And becoming much more intentional about being okay with whatever comes up. Some of the shit I'm going through now is shit that I was dealing with in shadow, a couple years ago, but that just means there's more for me to navigate.
Yeah.
I know I'm like rambling all over the place.
No, it makes sense. And there's a lot of folks that are resonating with it. Yeah, I am an INFP. That's the personality test I was talking about. It's like she said, healing is not, and learning is not linear.
It's more like a spiral.
It's more like a spiral.
It's kind of like a spiral.
Like it's very strange, but it's kind of like, and I'm not in any kind of way saying that shadow work is like addiction, but it kind of parallels it in a way where there almost has to be like a triggering moment.
Yeah.
Where you decide you either want to get clean and sober, or you decide on this side of it, you want to find out why relationships aren't working out, or whatever that might look like for you.
Yeah.
That's when I started doing shadow work, was when I wasn't getting the attention that I thought I deserved. I would throw a fit. And I don't mean like a toddler fit, but when I'm mad, I shoot to kill with my words. And not everybody's going to take that for very long. The people that loved me the most did. And they would. And they still do. But they can. Yeah, they can.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of people in my life that are going to tolerate that kind of fucking attack. Even if I'm right to be mad, they're not going to tolerate that for very long. So that was what triggered me to be like, I need to freaking, one, calm the hell down.
Right.
And two, figure out why I cannot stop flying off like that.
That's an interesting subject to get to too. Because that was a problem for me. Now, I never was I didn't shoot to kill with words, but I am Irish. And I can go from sweet Southern happy to I'm going to claw your eyes out.
Yes.
Very fast.
Oh, yes. One
of the big things for me with this shadow work was I was always very reactive. I wasn't mean, but I was quick. I was quick to, I felt like a cat in a corner, like an animal in a corner. And I would just, what I started learning, one of the first things I learned was to find the space between. That's what I call it.
Oh, okay. That's good. I like that idea.
The thing triggers you and you take a deep breath, or 10 or 20 or 30, and you just, okay, how am I going to react to this?
Yeah.
Clearly my lashing out, my freaking out, like you just said, nobody's going to put up with that. You know, God bless Justin, because I don't know how he stayed married.
Oh God, seriously. I mean, my mom, Jennifer. Yeah.
Right. So
even my son. And I have done this, like even my own son, not when he was younger, but like to this day, he knows. I'm like, oh, if I count to 3, if I get to 3,
watch out. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You know what I mean? Like but no, that kind of reaction, like you said, very reactive.
Yeah.
Not serving me or the people I love.
No. And I mean, I look at the last year and a half is a prime example of having to take a breath, because there's been a lot of stuff. Fortunately, I've been on the lowest end of attention as far as the stuff with the Conjuring House goes, but some pretty nasty things have been said about me as well. And it was okay. There was one instance in particular that wasn't too long ago where I heard the information. I was like, okay, old Erin would have just lashed out, banged down on the computer and hit end.
Can we talk about how you have to hold me back a lot of the time?
I do. And so that's the thing, because she's like spitting nails and I'm like, okay, we have to breathe through this. It's, but it took me a long time to be able to find that space. But that was part of my shadow work. It's like you're reacting because, as Mary Beth said, it's a defense mechanism.
Yep.
A lot of mine was still wrapped up in that, trauma of the first marriage and, 12 years of Catholic school, like take your pick. But once I started realizing I have a choice in how I'm going to handle this situation.
Yeah.
A lot of things started changing for me.
Yeah.
So this most recent thing that happened, I was like, okay, this is the thing that happened. Had a good laugh about it. Got pretty mad about it for a minute. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to respond. I'm going to think about it for like a week before I do anything, but I wouldn't have been able to do that before I started stuff. Right. So to me, it's like, and like Joseph said, some things are meant to stay buried. I don't know if I necessarily always agree with that, but
I don't know. I saw that too. I don't necessarily know as I always agree with that too, because if they're going to come up, they're meant to come up.
Right. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Come up. I mean, some stuff might stay buried, but this is your life, your life's journey, right? We all came down here to learn. And if that stuff comes up, it's meant to come up. And if you pack it away again, it's just going to keep coming back. It's like a lesson that's never learned. At some point, if it keeps returning to you and you keep remembering it, you're meant to address it.
Because otherwise, the universe is just going to keep putting it back in front of you.
And you're going to relive the same stuff in your next life. Your soul hasn't learned that lesson, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like for you. And that's what I always tell people when I do their like Akashic Records readings. Like this looks different for you than it does for me. And every soul learns differently, just like we all do.
Yeah, I think there's shadow work is interesting too, because it's not like you just sit in it for a minute and you have this conversation and then you work your way out of it. I mean, some of this stuff can go, like we'll get into the dark night of the soul here in a minute, because that ties into this. Some of this can last a really long time, or like I was saying earlier, you think you've handled something and then here we are again. Now there's still some things that need to be navigated. But a lot of mine ties into that abuse and not trusting people. I know, the last year and a half, I know I don't trust anybody anymore, really, outside of an immediate circle.
It's been difficult as one of your closest friends.
Yeah.
I mean, you have everybody at a boundary, like you said, like everybody can only come so close to you.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But
it's not healthy either. And
no, because it's people that you can trust, that they've proven that you can trust them. Then that makes them feel like, well, maybe I'm actually not trustworthy. So it's a constant thing, guys. It's not just you and like your decisions and things like that. It's the way it's reflected onto others, and then it makes others question. And it's we're all connected, and it's not easy.
It's not.
It's not easy, and there you go. Everything is hard, and we're all connected, and that's the end of the show. Well, we hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
But I think that's true. But that's why, like, for me, and of course, there's some things of this shadow work I'm not. It's just too personal. I'm not really going to get into. But I've always tried to like heal out loud, and especially as somebody who's in recovery. I mean, I'll be sober 10 years in August, and
I know. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, ma'am. It's time for a new tattoo.
Ooh, yeah.
Most of my tattoos are sobriety related, so or like anniversaries of sobrieties. But I think having done shadow work often. Well, it's been a while until this most recent round, but I know I'm in for it often for the foreseeable future. Yeah. You get a little better at it each time. You get a little kinder to yourself each time. You understand that when the soul is screaming, you're like, okay.
Yes.
Surrender. And I hate that word too, but it's true because it's the only thing you can do.
That word that you just said, when you do shadow, you get a little kinder to yourself. Mm-hmm. That's is exactly kind of what the purpose of this of shadow work is.
100% agree.
It's not to blame others for what happened. It's not to, beat yourself up and say, I can't do anything right. I suck. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's not to do that. It's to learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
It's to learn from it. Why do I react so excessively? Okay, this is why. But we're constantly saying on the show, give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Be kinder. Is it hard? Yes, it sucks. I hate it.
I do too.
Nobody wants to sit down with the worst parts of what they think the worst parts of themselves are, and to know that their friends and family also think these are the worst qualities you have.
Well, the other part of it, the other part I think that's hard about shadow work is those worst qualities are self-created most of the time.
Yes.
Whether it was to survive or to defend.
Sure.
This is something our soul, like we created this in order to get through whatever we were getting through. And for some people, it's like, if you just survive the year, man, that's great.
Good for you. Yeah.
But you get to a point where you always talk about like letting go of things that no longer serve your highest good. Sometimes that kind of behavior, those kinds of coping skills they don't resonate with your energetic frequency anymore.
They don't. And it's so easy to hang on to them because you're familiar with them and they comfort you.
That's true, Mom.
Yep.
That's
true. And it's really difficult when people you love make you look at those ugly parts of yourself by saying, you know what, I can't deal with your bullshit, Carrie.
Yeah.
You have an extreme reaction to such little stimuli. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Stay the fuck away from me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, sometimes maybe that's what it takes. That's what it took for me. And I think, I'm still a hothead.
Yeah, I think it's.
But I will listen to people that okay, hang on, Carrie. Let's think about it. Let's calm down. Let's give it a minute. Don't react. Like, you have had to hold me back so many times, and you've done it successfully. That is really fucking saying something.
I did you once or twice when I couldn't hold you back, but that's but again, all of our journeys are different. We all are figuring out different things, and I'm not in any of these friendships to be like, you need to change this and you need to do that. You're you, and I love you for you. And we all go through shit in our lives, and some of us dip out and move to Maine, in the mountains, and just disappear off the planet for a while. But that's what I need. And I remember, like, before moving up here, I kept saying to everybody, I need silence. I need quiet. My soul is screaming for silence and quiet, because I knew when I got here, once the dust settled of the last year of my life imploding, and I do say that sarcastically, like, all the things that happened in the last year and a half have all been my highest good. So when I say my life imploded, I'm really just kind of putting a satirical spin on it.
And quite honestly, I have never heard of a more amicable, friendly, loving divorce in my freaking life. You and Justin are like, we're so close. It was such a healthy divorce. I've never heard of it, such a thing.
I know. And we still, we text, a couple times a week, and we still
Love it.
Shit. And it will always be great friends. I'm very lucky. But again, that's shadow work.
Yeah.
Old Erin would have desperately tried to hang on to that marriage no matter what it cost me, no matter how much turning myself inside out I would have had to do, which I did in my first marriage.
Yeah.
I finally got to the point where when he and I had this conversation, it was like, you know what? You're right. It's time for us. Hi, puppy. It's time for us to move on. And
my dog Leia is like, I am tired of sleeping on the floor. You can't see her. She's on the pile of blankets.
It's like trying to spot Bernie, who is down over here on the floor.
Yeah, see, she's trying to don't fall off. She and I call each other fat bottom girls. We make the world go round because Freddie Mercury said so. But she's getting ready to drop that fat bottom off this couch. So hang on.
So we hear a thump, we'll know why.
We'll know why.
You get to the point with this stuff where it's not even so much you hate the shadow side of yourself. For me, I really look forward to shadow work when it comes up, because again, I don't decide, it just shows up.
Yeah.
And it's usually when things are quieter and the dust starts to settle and my brain is starting to kind of like,
when you just want the peace, then the shadow work's like, knock, knock, knock. Hi, I'm here.
Yeah.
No, go away.
You just get to the point where you don't want to live like that anymore. Like I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I've even noticed, like, getting out of this marriage, the amount of stress I put on myself over dumb shit, like thinking that had nothing to do with anything except self-created stress. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Well, I did that for 11 years. And that also allowed me to figure out, why am I so tired? Yeah. Why am I so unmotivated right now? It's because my soul is exhausted and I need a rest. So I'm honoring that. And a lot of that means I'm checking the hell out for a while. I'm not checking Facebook all the time. I'm not commenting on stuff. I'm not watching shows. I'm not even really messaging that much because I'm not. I'm over here listening to Zen music.
Let's talk about what you just said. What? Social media.
Oh, yeah.
That thing can inject so much toxicity. It doesn't matter what platform you are on. Threads, X, Truth Social, TikTok, my personal favorite, Facebook, Instagram. I have to be on these platforms because I own 2 businesses. Yeah. But they can inject so much vitriol and toxicity and hatred into your life just by reading them. And it's an addictive. We've all gotten so dependent on social media that it's hard to put that down. It's hard to put that down.
And I think it's interesting how it affects people differently. I was having a conversation with my sister about it the other day. And, for us, of course, we've been, if I wasn't in the paranormal field and I didn't work for some of the people I work for, I wouldn't be on it at all. I don't TikTok. I do have Instagram and Facebook. I'm terrible at Instagram, but Facebook I've been doing for long enough. I've got that mostly figured out. But I think especially like with the farm, we were having to watch everything, not because we were trying to, go after anybody, but it was like you had to be aware of what was going on, whether it was Jacqueline's or like
I can absolutely see. I mean, it was a business, and you had to make sure that I get it.
Well, you just have to be, we kind of I finally just got to the point where it was like, you know what? I don't even give a shit anymore. I don't want to watch anymore about it. And I still keep one ear out. I mean, I have to, somewhat pay attention, but it is no longer like that spent so much time the center of our universes because there was a dumpster fire every day.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, like, and the drama has really kind of
settled itself
really been tamped down.
But again, it was a choice. It was like, okay, I can stay in my head all tizzied up about this. I mean, like I noticed last year, like before we went on Jason's show, I look older as a result of all of that going on.
Oh, like, I remember you had said that like a few episodes ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I don't wear makeup. I don't own any makeup. I have some mascara that I throw on occasion. I don't own anything.
I literally just roll out of bed like this.
Right. I know, just perfectly coiffed and everything. But I think at some point it was like I had fallen back into old habits, right? Like the people pleasing and wanting to make sure I did everything right. And don't screw up. Don't say the wrong thing. Don't type the wrong thing. Don't, And it was like, okay, you're falling back into old patterns, right? And that's kind of the other benefit of shadow work is you can, once you started doing it, you start to recognize when you're slipping back.
Yeah.
Into like old habits. So
mm-hmm.
I know we've kind of like scrolled all over the place. I saw Jeff had a question.
Jeff had a really good one.
I don't, it's weird. That's a good question because I have heard a couple times when I'm kind of meditating or right before I go to bed, I can hear energy, but it doesn't sound like white noise. It sounds like humming, like wah, wah, but I'm hearing energy. So I don't know if it's the similar kind of thing. What about you?
Point of white noise. No, I just when I'm relaxing and centering myself and I get to that point, then all the spirits are like chatter, talk. Sometimes my dogs will hear them. Like we'll be laying in bed and I've been on a so I study, and I think I've said this before, but I love to study monarchies, at the British monarchy, the French monarchy. So I've been rewatching The Tudors because I love a salacious drama too.
Yeah.
And over as I'm falling asleep and I'm relaxing, I will hear voices right at my ear. And I'll sit up and my dogs are already sitting up like they heard it.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's not so much white noise. I can't seem to, I don't know if it's my mind or what I'm doing or what have you. I can't seem to get to the level of white noise and stay there.
Yeah.
Largely because when I'm doing Akashic Records readings, you have to get to that theta, which is well above white noise. So I either am above or below it.
Yeah. Hard to find the in-between.
Yeah, in the in-betweens. Yeah. Like a fairy.
I want to address this too. When you can't accept your flaws, and makeup is a crutch. So it's not about the makeup. That's the thing. That's kind of, I guess, the point we're getting at. It's not about the makeup. And I think this is part of the shadow work. If you choose not to accept your flaws and you choose not to do the work, then you're not going to go, you're going to stay there. Yeah. You're going to stay, whether you're pissed off at the world or you're mad at your job, insert here. But if you choose not to step into that, which we know is very hard, it's not fun. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're having this discussion, because the timing's great, because I'm right smack in the middle of it. But if you choose not to accept your flaws, then you are basically telling your soul that it's not worth the effort to try and bring out the pure essence of who you actually are. That's how I look at it. Maybe that's
that's a good way to put it, for sure.
But my soul has done this a whole bunch of times, I'm sure. And I want to be better each time I come back. I want to try and make sure that I'm learning the lesson I was sent back here to learn. I want to make sure that it's difficult, but it's
so hard. But you guys, you got to do it.
You owe it to yourself.
You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your soul. Also, do you want to go through this crap again? I don't.
Well, and I think too, once you start going through this and clearing out some of this old stuff and accepting it for what it is, you'll find that your connection to everything else is much better.
Yeah.
Because again, all this old shit, bad coping skills, all this stuff that we're talking about with the shadow in the most squirrely, random way ever, because that's how my brain works.
Always. We didn't say it was going to be perfect.
No, we didn't say it was going to be pretty. We said it was going to be a train wreck. Every time I get a chance to go back and do shadow work, I know it's going to be hard. I know I'm going to hate it at points when I'm in it. I know I'm going to spend a lot of time feeling helpless and trying to come up with an answer. But then it's okay, just give yourself the space you need, the quiet you need, and the time.
Yeah.
Very intentional about what you're trying to figure out as far as that part of the shadow. And you always get the answer. But all of this stuff, these coping skills, this shadow stuff is all energy too, right? And it's just sitting in your body.
Yeah.
Again, if you look at energy like Wi-Fi, it can only take so much before your bandwidth is full, and then you're screwed. So you have to clear shit out. And all of that stuff, old stuff, is energy. And it's just hanging out in your body. And Witch Moon can identify, you can make yourself very, very sick. Not taking care of shadow work and not
you can
being honest with yourself.
Well, and here's the thing too, it's just you. It's just you doing this shadow work. You can buy like a journal, or you can buy, and or like a workbook. And I know like sometimes they'll be like, they'll ask questions of you. It's just you and you.
And and the universe, and that's it.
And the universe. And it's not you having a conversation with a stranger in the form of therapy. Again, not
knocking it. It's great.
Not knocking it. It's great. I do spiritual therapy. Like, I'm not knocking it. I get it.
Just another option.
But with this kind of stuff that's so deeply personal and ingrained in us, it's kind of easier to start with ourselves.
Yeah.
And then if you find something that maybe you need a little bit of help with, then you can feel safe to broach that subject with your therapist if you have one. But it's just you and you. And don't you deserve that kindness? Don't you deserve that effort to make yourself feel better and be better? Not for others, but for you.
Yeah. I mean, you can identify with this. If I hadn't gone to that event in 2019, and I almost didn't, I had been doing the work on the spiritual side for about 2 years. I had just quit my job. I had just finally started making decisions for myself that were no longer aligning with what was good for me anymore. Those are hard decisions to make. Leave your law job. You've been there 10 years. You've always been,
Yeah.
I didn't care anymore.
What are you talking about? Yeah, for sure.
Right. So I quit the job. I started getting unloading and unpacking the things that weren't good for me anymore. And then all this wild, crazy paranormal. I met Andrea Perrin, and Jesus Christ, that woman's taken me on a train ride like I never would have thought of.
I know, right? She's amazing.
But if I hadn't done some of that work already, I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation with all of you folks. I mean, if you'd have told me like 4 years ago that I'd be sitting here doing a pod, I'd have told you you're out of your mind. Because number one, I couldn't stand being on camera. I couldn't stand being on video. I hated all of it.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. On this same vein, one of my biggest problems, and I think a lot of people in here can resonate, I spent a lot of time saying no to my life. Nope, don't want to travel. Nope, don't want to do this. Nope, don't want to do that, because I was scared. Whether the fear was tied into whatever the fear was tied into, I always said no. Yeah. And then I made the conscious decision. I'm like, you know what? I'm done saying no. I'm going to start saying yes. And I started saying yes to all the things I would normally have said no to, like hosting a podcast, going on a podcast, going on paranormal investigation, working at the fucking Conjuring House. Like, those are things that I would have said absolutely not. When the movie came out, I remember Justin said, do you want to go see the movie? The response was, fuck no, I don't.
Yeah.
But I started saying yes. And when I started saying yes, whether it made sense or not, the universe was rewarding those decisions. I know you can relate to that, Carrie. And I know a lot of people in here can relate to that.
For sure.
I had decided that the shadow work and the way the universe was starting to guide me and starting to do the things that felt good for my soul, I've only been rewarded, even with the hard stuff, because that's a perspective I choose to have. Sure. And I had this conversation with Andrea. Do I have every right to be pissed off about the last year and a half and everything that's happened?
Yes.
To recap the short list for anyone who's new here, I had to give up my dream job. We had to manage the dumpster fire that was the Conjuring House alone for 8 months. And then it went live and to the public. So I had to navigate that. Miss Carolyn died. Marie died. Andrea got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and I got a divorce, and I moved to Maine. Now, old Erin would have been pretty bitter and angry.
Yeah.
Which would have been absolutely fine. But it was a conscious decision to look at it differently, because I have done a lot of the work. And I do know that if I wasn't going to make those decisions myself, the universe was going to make it for me one way or another. I didn't make them for myself, so the universe did it. And I'm okay with all of that, right? It's been worth it. It's been worth the tears, the move, the uprooting my life, because you know what? In the meantime, the universe also gave me these incredible people in New England that I wouldn't be surviving this without if they weren't here.
Yeah. Yeah.
The universe is always a step ahead. It's just giving yourself permission, get to know yourself the way your soul would be proud of.
Yeah. Let's see. Somebody had a question. Hang on a second. Where was that?
Here. Does doing these shows? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, it does.
Yeah, because a lot of what I found with shadow work is admitting outwardly your faults, your flaws. Yeah. That's helped me. And I do that a lot on the show. Admitting that I a hair trigger with my temper and my anger. And a lot of my friends have, felt the brunt of when I, my mouth, like I said, if I get mad and angry, I shoot to kill with my words. And I have. Mm-hmm. And I have. Through shadow work, I found that that's because I felt like I wasn't getting the attention I was giving everybody else.
Yeah.
What does a child or somebody do when they don't feel they're getting the attention they deserve? They throw a fucking fit.
Yeah.
Well, as you get older, those fits become quite bombastic, frankly. So yeah, I'll tell you what though, I sleep a lot better now that I quit throwing my fits.
Yeah, I mean, I think I also got to the point where a lot of the stuff that was going around, like the internet and all this stuff about it didn't matter to me anymore, because I know what we lived through. I know what those of us who had to handle this together went through. And we all decided, you know what? We're moving on with our lives. Whatever happens at the house, we're always tied to it. We're never going to give up kind of paying attention. We want to be aware, make sure the house gets in the right hands, that kind of thing. But we're done letting it run our lives, because it was literally running our lives for about a year.
Yeah. And
decision. We're out. We're done. Move on.
Yeah. You can care about it and be worried and sad and have all your feelings about it from a distance.
Yeah. And you can't stay there, right? Like you can't.
You can't unpack and live there. You cannot unpack and live there. It was if that's what it's meant to be for now, it was an amazing moment in time.
Exactly. Yeah. You have to put it somewhere, and you can't always get what you want. And we always say with the universe, the universe doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you need, and it gives you what you're putting out. So the universe is only resonating with whatever frequency you are giving it.
Vibrating on. Exactly. Yeah. That's kind of part of the reason, we hope that you take something from every episode that allows you to kind of sit a minute and just vibrate higher. That's the purpose of every single show. Now, do we, squirrel and go crazy and off the rails? Of course we do. That's what makes it funny.
Yes.
But there is lessons that we're still learning too.
Oh, yeah.
We're not trying to be up here preachy.
Again, we've always said we want this to be, and it's funny because Marie hated the word authentic. She hated that word.
Did she really?
Oh God, she hated it. I think she
Why?
She's like, everybody who says that, most of them are just full of shit. And I can't disagree with her.
Listen, that's kind of true.
Kind of true. So every time I think of the word authentic, I'm like, oh, Marie's gonna be so mad at me. But I would rather own my own shit and own it publicly.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Come after me for being honest? What are you gonna go background search me and you're gonna find shit that I hadn't already told you? No.
Right, exactly.
But it also
this show's a train wreck, what we already said it was gonna be.
Right. But it also maybe will give somebody else the courage to try shadow work or have that conversation or try something, because we're here flailing around like idiots. We don't know what we're doing. We're just kind of figuring out as we go, but we've done enough work at this point to roll with the punches. Know that it's all going to be okay at some point.
Right.
It's not why is this happening to me? It's what is this trying to teach me?
Yes, and if you shift your thought to that, you will make different decisions.
You will.
You will make different decisions. What is this trying to teach me? And if you don't think it's true, yes.
That is 100%.
There is honor in making friends with your shadow, because your shadow's never going to go away. It's not bad.
Might as well be friends.
You might as well be friends.
And I mean, at this point, I walk my shadow proudly. The shadow is the reason
Me too.
I get to sit here. The shadow is the reason.
My shadow's the one who told me to cut my hair.
I know, the cute. I would kill for curly hair like that.
Oh, thank you.
But then, obviously with this conversation, the next question always begs, well, how do we assimilate the shadow? How do we integrate the shadow?
Oh, yeah.
There is two quotes I want to read, because again, I'm not going to throw a bunch of psychological verbiage at you. I got out of law for a reason.
We can teach you how to start your shadow work, but the journey with it is all different. It's all.
Yeah. So this was a quote I found. There's generally no effective technique for assimilating the shadow. It's more like diplomacy or statesmanship, and it is always an individual matter, to your point, Carrie. First, one has to accept and take seriously the existence of the shadow. Second, one has to become aware of its qualities and intentions. This happens through conscientious attention to moods, fantasies, and impulses. Third, a long process of negotiation is unavoidable, which is true.
Yeah.
And then Carl Jung also says there's no coming to consciousness without pain. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own soul. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious.
Yeah. It's I've seen it a lot in my my wellness center, in my clients. They all want the peace and they want the enlightenment, but they don't want to do the work.
They just want to skip from, and I think that's what's hard about what you do, what I do.
Yeah.
You can hand them all the tools in the world, but it's your path to walk. And if you're not to use either the tools we've suggested or other tools that you come across from other people, because listen, plenty of other people know a lot more than us, but
so many more people.
If you choose not to take that stuff and run with it and you've paid money for it, then that's on you. We can't.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can come back session after session with me, but it's ultimately going to be your journey. Yes, they want you to fix them. Mm-hmm. There's no quick fix. There is never a quick fix in anything in life. I dare you. I challenge you, not dare you. I challenge you to name one quick fix.
Right.
There isn't any.
I'll tell you what.
Anything to do with your home.
Alcohol doesn't work. Try that one.
Yeah. I mean, literally, seriously, literally down to anything. And there is no quick fix. You've got to invest the time. And don't you think you're worth your own time? Don't you think you're worth your own time? If you're not, if you don't think you're worth your own time,
think again.
Think again. Mm-hmm. Think again.
Mm-hmm. Native Americans believe there's a black wolf and white wolf that lives in each of us. It depends on which one you feed that day.
Depends on which one you feed that day. I love that. And we are going to pin that. Will you post that in the group?
Yeah, I'll pull
we will pin that to the top.
I'll pull the story. Or
I love that.
If you've got the full story that you can send to one of us, otherwise I can just look it up.
Yep. It depends on which one you feed that day.
It's perspective. It's choice.
It's choice. It's also giving your own self, your own soul consideration. Have you messed up relationships with your family or friends? Okay, yeah, sure you have.
Both wolves are important. Mm-hmm.
But you matter. So you need to start with you before you fix anything else. Because you're not going to know how to fix anything else unless you fix you. And the only person who can fix you is you.
Correct. And spoiler alert, you're never going to get to the point where you're like, oh, I'm fixed and I'm going to move on.
No, you're never going to get to that point.
I don't know if this happens for you. I know this happens for me, and I know it's happened for clients where you used to react and fly off the handle, and one day all of a sudden you just react totally differently, and it doesn't even dawn on you until later. You're like, oh, snap. I didn't do that normal, terrible thing that I normally do. You start having little realizations. And that's why I always say, little shifts in this stuff always result in big tidal waves of shifts down the line, right? Because
they do
little things. And then it's like a tidal wave. And so it's a conscious decision you have to make for yourself. And if you just, like Carrie said, if you don't feel like you're worth that effort, then that's on you. But it's going to keep coming back up until you choose differently.
Yeah. And I will not stop saying it, you guys. Don't you think you're worth that? Mm-hmm. Because we sure do.
Right. We wouldn't be doing the show if we didn't want other people to figure this out too and have a soft place to crash with questions. And who better to learn from two complete absolute disasters than the two of us. Actually, there's plenty of other people to learn from as well.
Before us, please, God.
But I'd rather, I mean, this shit's messy and it's not fun a lot of the times. And I think that's the other thing. Like for those of us who, you know, like our more well-known friends and some of us who kind of got sucked into being in the middle of some of this on the spotlight that didn't want any part of it.
Because you're so good at it.
We're all, that's funny. We're all going through some of it. Everybody's going through it. And I would like to think that most of the people I choose to surround myself with, we take care of each other. But we're all walking some version of shadow work at the moment. We're all conscientiously making the choice to learn more, grow more, because then I'm a better energy healer. I channel energy better if I'm a clear channel and I've worked on my own shit, right? You're the same way. Your readings, and when you're clearer, your information is clearer.
Yeah, that's true. This I love what he said. I understand what that means. I think I do anyway. I don't want to assume, but he says, Gary, sadly, once I became a father, I no longer mattered. My life has been dedicated to sacrificing for others. Now it is what makes me happy. That I absolutely understand, because once I became a mother, and I was 24 years old when my son was born. I was a single mother, and that was, all I ever wanted, all I ever knew. I didn't care. I was his mother. As he got older, and then he was diagnosed with autism at the age of 4, that then really kind of made my role and my path very, very rigid and clear.
Yeah.
But you have to nurture that part. You have to nurture you. Yes. Because I learned the very hard way that if I didn't nurture myself and take care of me, not in I want to go shopping or out with my friends kind of way, but in a soulful way, then I wasn't going to appreciate being his mother.
Yeah.
Or appreciate being on that road. Now, I feel like that could be the same for you, but just obviously, like I said, like we've said, she said, I said, everything is different for everybody.
Yep.
But you cannot be, I believe, this is just my belief, you cannot be the giver and the sacrificer
all the time.
And you can't be the kind of giver and sacrificer that you think you are if you are not being nurtured yourself.
Yes.
You just can't.
You can't.
It doesn't work that way. You can't give. What's that saying, Erin? You can't give from an empty.
Can't pour from an empty cup.
There you go. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah, and
I get that, Jeff. For sure.
On Jeff's point, I know as a person who is a people pleaser, oldest of 4 kids, I've always been someone's assistant, right?
Yeah.
One of the big thing. Can't pour from an empty vessel. Which moon, girl? You're on it. She's like.
She is on it.
When we can't remember stuff, she's like right in there. She's got to figure out.
I know, right?
I think
okay,
one of the things.
Editor.
Yeah, right. My first go with shadow work. One of the biggest things I figured out, I've always been a helper, right? Like Mr. Rogers always look for the helpers are always there.
Yeah.
But the way I was helping was to validate my own existence. So my helping was actually pretty selfish because really it was for me at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And once I figured that out, it was like, oh shit. So now I'm at the point where I love helping people. I am a helper. That's what I do. I've always been someone's assistant. I really
You
love
are.
it.
Yeah, you are.
But now I get to do it because I love the people I do it for. I love the things that we're doing, and it's not about me anymore.
Yeah.
But because I realized that position in my head, once I figured it out, that was really fucking selfish.
Yeah.
I wanted help, and I was looking for validation I was never going to get from people who didn't even matter. So I was killing myself trying to make myself feel
But don't
better.
we do that? Like, I feel like everybody wants to do that. They want validation from people that do not matter.
Bingo.
They want that.
Bingo. So once I shifted,
I want that. It's like, I mean, it's never going to change, but you just kind of have to learn how to keep that in check.
Yeah. But I think once I figured out the way I was coming at helping people, look at all the good things I'm doing. Look at all the help I'm giving. I mean, I was a great paralegal to the detriment of my health, my sanity, and everything else. I
was any paralegals watching.
No, jeez. Yeah. Well, they can resonate. A lot of them can.
Listen, we get you. Come join the train wreck.
Yeah. So, but now, and I think that was part of, like, once I started putting those connections together and getting to the root of some of this stuff, it was like, okay, now you get to do this in a field that you're passionate about with people you admire, adore, and love.
Yeah.
And you're really, truly helping them just to help them or to learn more about whatever you're working on.
Sure.
Like,
yeah, absolutely. You've learned a ton. So have I.
Right. And you just, people, how do you get involved in this field? Well, after I got over the initial rush of who'd you sleep with to work at the Conjuring House, or who did you, like, I've heard it all.
Right. You're trying to take my job.
Yeah. I found a place where my natural wiring makeup of being a helper allows me to help my friends and take stress off of them, but also allows me to grow and learn both behind the desk, but then also in the field. I get to talk to all kinds of people and pick their brain. And now it's purely from an altruistic standpoint. I don't need the validation anymore. I get that from myself.
Can you put up Mary Beth's comment about something else I learned as a teenager? Is it easier to help someone else than it is to help yourself?
How far up is that?
It's only the fourth one from the bottom.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. That's not wrong. And I was like, holy shit, that is probably one of the most accurate things I've heard. Mm-hmm. It's easier trying to help someone else than it is to help yourself. One of my favorite lines from Pretty Woman, and I love Pretty Woman, is the bad stuff is easier to believe. Why? Yeah. So why are those things true? Right. It's easier to help somebody else than yourself. The bad stuff is easier. Why is that true? Because we're kind of like, I mean, we want to bring society and parentage or whatever into it. We're kind of, be of service.
Yeah.
Be of service. I think at the end of the day, like, help your fellow man, help somebody who's weaker than you, help,
but not to your detriment.
But not to your detriment. And that's kind of where, like, shadow work kind of gives you, it's kind of a mind fuck, right?
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Where it's like, well, but not to my detriment, but I thought it was supposed to be of service. And then so I learn and I'm a good soul and this and that. Mm-hmm. Well, yes, you are. But again, you cannot pour from an empty vessel.
And you're not a doormat.
Or an empty wine glass or, an empty, like, monster drink. Like, coffee. You have to be able to have something to give.
Yeah.
You're worth the effort.
Yeah.
You're worth the effort. And if you're sitting there and you're sitting there with just yourself, if you cannot be open and honest and raw with just yourself, then you definitely do need some sort of assistance. I don't know what that would be, but you should trust yourself above anybody.
Yeah. Which isn't easy. And let's be honest, there's still plenty of self-doubt, because I saw somebody.
Oh, totally.
I don't
trust
myself.
The world is all about self-doubt.
Yeah. I've got plenty of self-doubt. I don't trust my abilities 9 times out of 10, even though I got to get past that. Satori will slap me in the back of the head, basically, when I do that. But there's still struggles. I'm not sitting up here like, oh, I'm the most self-confident person. I am not.
Right.
But I accept where I'm at right now. And that's enough for me, because I'm trying to do the right thing for the people around me. I'm trying to learn a new life. I'm trying to be still and take in this time, because I may not ever get this again.
You won't, for sure.
Huh?
You won't, for sure. It's just
it's temporary.
It's everything
is temporary.
Everything's temporary.
Yeah. Holy crap, it's almost 9:30 already. We could have a whole nother
Is
show.
it really?
Yeah.
The show's so needed right now. Thank you both and everyone in the chat. We are all in this together.
That's why we do
absolutely
this.
Are.
That is why we do this. And we'd rather do it.
We were going to hold off on shadow work for a while. And then now, I do you guys have questions about like actually how to sit down and do shadow work? Is it just, Erin, what do you think? Is it just like you sitting there and asking yourself the hard questions, or would you recommend a journal, or what do you think?
Any of the I'll put out there's a link that I found tonight where there's a couple of exercises, but they're not really exercises we can do live. There are things you would need to do kind of on your own that have you kind of look at how you think about things. So I have that. I'll put that up.
Cool. Okay.
Tomorrow, either tonight or tomorrow, in the group page. As far as
shadow work to the sequel. That sounds terrifying.
But meditating, journaling, sitting quietly in the grass. I mean, it's going to look differently for everybody, but it's just, I'm trying to think of the best way. How do you really even like tap into this? There's so many different ways to do it, but allowing yourselves to, maybe you start with a certain situation that you're not proud of how you handled it, or you're not happy with the way you did. Maybe
that's a good place to start.
Like, just take that box out, take the lid off, look at it for a little bit. And if you can't, you put it back for a little bit, but take it back out. Like, it's going to look a little different for everyone, but basically give yourself permission to explore some different situations or traits about yourself that don't work for you anymore. There's books galore, workbooks.
Yeah, those do those. That's a good start, because like I bought one and I was like, oh, I don't like that question, skip. I don't like that one, skip. And then like 5 pages, it's fine as long as you're answering some of them. Because
but you're gonna have to go back to the other ones.
Be solid and honest with yourself.
Correct.
There's no way you're being solid and honest with anybody else in your life, and that includes your closest friends and family. It just is what it is.
And
don't be afraid of you. Give yourself the grace to be like, hey, I do these things and they suck, and I think they suck, and all my friends and family think they suck. Because like I have said on a number of shows, at some point, we have all been that toxic person to someone else. We've all been that toxic person to somebody else. The purpose of shadow work is to learn and grow and kind of like reduce that toxicity that we're outwardly showing, I think.
Yeah. But again, it's we'll put up some other suggestions. We went longer than I thought.
I know we did. And you and I are like, we got cards
on that. We're like, hey, here's shadow work, but no answers on how you fix it. Just be patient with yourself. Give yourself grace. Allow yourself to explore uncomfortable things, situations, places, reactions, emotions, and just take your time with it. But we'll do a follow. We need to do a follow up on Akashics anyway, and maybe we do a double with Akashics and shadow work.
Yeah, let's do it
in the future.
Yeah, let's do it.
We've turned into Cody and Satori, and we're pulling cards.
My mom loves to hear it. I think she's looking. I think she's very much looking forward to meeting him in Gettysburg. Yeah, she's like, I just love his accent. I'm like, except that it's not an accent where he lives. But I get it. Okay, so she's got a card for you. We are not going to do sweary affirmations from me this week, guys. We're going to do this one.
Yeah, she's got quite a deck.
I love it. The Shadow Edition. Now, if everything goes the way that it has been, the cards that Erin pulls and that I pull will be very pertinent to tonight's topic of conversation, but also, the universe has a fucking squirrely sense of humor. So go ahead. What do we got here?
My camera sucks. It says you're not alone. Isolation, physical connection, and community.
Ooh. Will you repeat that?
Yeah, the card is you're not alone. And it's isolation, physical connection, and community. So let me find the why did they make the writing so small? I'm gonna need readers. That's really sad. I have to do some shadow work around needing readers.
Why are my eyes failing me?
Why are my eyes so crappy? All right, the older the soul, the deeper the cave. Well, this is starting off solid. Many starseeds and old souls enjoy their own company. Spending time alone can be comforting and necessary. Maybe this is for me. And necessary for their vitality, as it allows them to commune with their soul and fill up their energetic resources, especially if they have an underactive or open root chakra.
Yeah, I may have one of those. Hello, root chakra.
Or find it hard being human. Many starseeds find it more nourishing to retreat than to spend their time in meaningless conversations and relationships. I know. However, we must remember that we're not here to go about this life alone. Humans are pack animals, and we all need the love, company, and support of others, both emotionally and physically.
Hey, pack animals, the wolf.
Right?
Black wolf, what? That. Oh, I love that. I think I need a wolf tattoo. Sorry, go on.
In our increasingly online world, we can be connected to more people and yet feel more alone and isolated than ever. It's hitting on everything. There's still so much we don't know about the energetic side effects of things like social media. With so many people knowing our news, what is it doing to our auric field? Commonly, we find ourselves in constant conversation, yet lacking the genuine connection of physical community and touch. The main message of this card is to step out of your cave and physically reach out to those in your life, to replenish when you need to, but not isolate yourself. This could be seeing friends and family who live nearby or having a regular catch-up walk with someone. And what ways can you open yourself up to the people who are physically in your life, those who truly know you? Also, just for the record, I was in Rhode Island with all my friends last week. Okay? So I'm not just...
but really what I think that thing is saying, and guys in the audience, tell me if I'm wrong, what that card was saying was, Erin, go to fucking Gettysburg.
But again, funny enough, it hits on, the things we were...
It sure does.
Discussing. I love this deck.
That's a good... It's never failed us. Every time we've pulled from, it's never failed the topic. Okay. Yeah. So again, we're going to do my deck, Threads of Fate Shadow Edition. I love these cards. They're beautiful. Unfortunately, the company closed. They're not doing them anymore.
Probably for me.
Right? Absolutely. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do with mine. I'm going to say Jason Webster. So with us? He is. He just posted a comment. Give me a number between 1 and 50. And that's the card we'll pull. So Jason will pick the card tonight. So give me a number between 1 and 50.
I don't know what happened to my background. It disappeared.
What happened is your background? Oh, I'm sorry, my little dog Tater. 41. Okay.
41. What do we got?
All right, let's see here. They're really thick and stiff, so I'm sorry. I've got to hold on. 1, 2, 3. I'm not good at count 1 to 41. I'm counting backwards, guys.
The ghost of Pentecosta's messing
with us. We all have lives and shit. Okay, so Tater, I hear you.
Hey, boss man.
Wait, hang on. Sorry. Threw me off with my counting.
Such a Ken thing to do.
45, 43, 42, 40. Ooh.
Ooh. Another good one.
It's a good one.
Underworld. Look at
Underworld. What is this? All right. Let's read the book. If we don't like it, we'll just blame Jason, everybody. It's fine.
Totally fair. Jason, it's your
totally fair. Jason, what were you thinking? Jason's like, what? I just picked a number. Okay.
What happened?
All right, here we go. Also, same thing. Where are my readers? Okay. If the underworld comes to you, it is either an invitation to go within yourself, or it serves as an acknowledgement of where you currently are. If you do not sense that you are in the underworld, then this card is asking you to take a pause and allow the things that need to fall away to do so. If you are in the underworld at the moment, it can often feel like it is trial after trial, loss after loss. It may also feel empty and uncomfortable. The underworld is where we die and are reborn. It holds the fire of transformation. So many people resist being in the underworld and try to rush the journey. But this card is asking you to settle into it and surrender. Didn't you just say that word, surrender? Give yourself permission to be in this in-between space and welcome the changes to the best of your ability. While we are in the underworld, we need to allow ourselves to be there without anticipating the rebirth. We must simply be there.
Yep. Nailed it on both counts.
That was amazing. Wow, the underworld. That's so pretty. I'm sorry, but look at this card. It's gold. Well, look how pretty that is. It's so pretty.
Carrie actually gifted me their other deck.
I did, yeah. I did. I got this. I had bought that deck, and I'm like, it just isn't resonating with me. And I met Erin, and all of a sudden, when I met her, like I would pick it up, and it would start like humming, like vibrating, and I'm like, I need to give this to her. But yeah, it was interesting. But Threads of Fate was amazing. They closed. But amazing.
So
Tiny dog is whining at my door. So what do you guys think?
The cards were good.
Buenas noches. Yeah, they were pretty.
Underworld, that's pretty funny. Shadow Underworld.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Which moon in her in wisdom? If you have trouble with surrender, like me, you just think of it as surrendering to self. Ooh, that's brilliant. I'm gonna take that.
Ooh, that's a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing?
Yeah, and we'll be back. 2 weeks? Lord knows what we're going to talk about in 2 weeks. We always appreciate y'all being here with us.
2 weeks is June 5th.
Shut up. No, it's not. It's not June.
No, it isn't. I'm sorry. It's January 5th.
Okay. Sounds better. Thank you. It's June. That's crazy.
Erin's going to work on reality of weather shadow work. Not that it matters. It's practically January there too.
Well, right now it is currently 44 degrees and we're looking at potentially getting some snow tomorrow. So we'll see.
Oh my God.
Uh-huh. But I'm excited.
I'm finally getting to start physical therapy after my surgery back in December.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I love it.
All right, guys. Yeah. Loads to unpack and think about tonight. We knew this was going to be a big one.
Tough one. Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. We've had a couple of requests already for shadow work too. So maybe we do the heavy hitters, but then we like to bring something like light. There was some I believe it was Jason that said that like a follow-up on the Akashics was good. Erin, you and I and Ken can sit down and look at our list and then just be like, we have a lot of fun, lighthearted stuff that we want to go over.
Yeah.
That we want to go over too. So
it's good to break them up every now, like in between the heavy stuff.
It is, yeah. A lot of the fun stuff. I don't know where our episode list is. Oh, I have it. I swear to God. So yeah, I will pull a square affirmation, and that'll be our affirmation for the next 2 weeks, guys. Post it on the page. I know I've been saying that, and then I keep forgetting to post it, so I'll just do it right now.
We rely on the train wreck.
We rely on the train wreck. But also we need funny swear affirmations.
We do.
We love you guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, lighthearted is good. We need to like break it up, like Erin said. Oh, Memorial Day weekend. Yes, absolutely. Everybody.
Oh, that's right.
Have fun. Be safe. It is the official kickoff to summer, which I will be bitching about until summer is over because I don't like summer anywhere in the world, apparently.
Nope, neither.
Yeah.
So, and on that note, we love y'all.
Sunscreen. Everybody sunscreen. Everybody's talking about sunburn. Sunscreen. Wear it.
Yep.
We love you guys.
Love you.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.